quiz us on the flora and fauna.
Well, yeah, just log the whole picture on.
Uh-huh. Hey Beth, some birds right over there on the railing. Yeah, like egrets maybe.
That's the
So we're here at Royal Palm. This spot where we are was established actually quite a bit before the national park was established. This was Florida's first state park, called Royal Palm State Park. And at one time there was a hotel here. There's remnants of that way back in the hammock behind us.
Nice.
This road that we're going to be walking on was the first road that went through the park. And at one time it went all the way around and it went to Flamingo. So you can think like maybe, I think it's maybe 1916 or so. There would have been Model Ts and things like that taking this road all the way down to see what type of treasures, what type of orchids, maybe things that people could find, and all these wonderful things that people started coming to this area to see. So I always think about that when I'm walking this trail. You know, we talk about protecting and preserving for future generations, and I think that this area is very similar to what those people would have seen almost 100 years ago. So let's walk a little farther. We'll stop in front of these birds. I should have mentioned the borrow pit. Darn it.
The what?
Don't stop in front of them. No, we can stop in front of them. Just don't stop too close to them because they're facing the water and their rear ends are facing this way. They can, they can do that.
And then they pooped.
Helping with the
So we're here on the Anhinga Trail, but this is not an Anhinga. I think we'll see some very, very soon. This is a cormorant, double-crested cormorant. It's one of our shoreline birds. Very well suited to this area. We see them in saltwater environments too. You may have seen some yesterday while you were out on the water. They will dive for their food. They swim, stab their fish, take them out and eat them, and then they send themselves here to dry off. As I was mentioning, for those of you who didn't hear me, if you're gonna, we're gonna walk past them, just kind of go far around. But in the tree, the willow tree across the way here, we do have an Anhinga. So this is the bird that the trail was named after. These Anhinga have been roosting and nesting, coming back to this spot for generations. They've chosen this area because of this water here, because there's such a rich supply of food for their young that they feel that they can establish their colonies here. So this body of water is not a natural body of water. It's called a borrow pit. You guys heard of that before? No? Okay. Borrow pit is exactly what the name implies. In order to build this road that we're standing on and the building that's behind you and have this up so that it doesn't get flooded seasonally, you have to dig. So you dig out the material, you pile it up, you build your road. You borrowed that material from that pit. So it's a borrow pit, not a natural body of water, but because it's deep, it holds water all year long through these wet and dry cycles that we have here in the Everglades. It's a place where we find abundant wildlife. So this Anhinga is probably a juvenile because they have been nesting here all year long, but we know that it's a female because she's got a light colored neck, a beige neck, a buff colored neck on the females. The male Anhingas are all black. I think we'll see some as we go down further, but I wanted to make sure I pointed that out to you. So the Anhinga is also very, very well suited to living in this environment. Also, will dive deep to stab their fish with a very pointy, sharp beak. Come out, flip it up in the air, down the hatch, and then dry off. So a lot of times you'll see them with their wings spread, and that's because they're drying off. They're also regulating themselves, their temperature, and a lot of times they'll send themselves
What are they?
to help get rid of any parasites that might be living on the
Oh
body.
my god, I've never seen
These
it.
ones right here, they spread their wings too, right?
They do.
Yeah, so they're kind of similar.
Very similar. And the easiest way to tell them apart, if you're not sure, is
one has one leg and the other
the beak of the anhinga is perfectly straight. The beak of the cormorant is, we've got that little hook on the end. And when the cormorants are in their breeding plumage, they have their double cuts of cormorants because they've got these little tucks that are on each side of their head. But these don't have it.
He has one leg.
Oh,
Yeah, he's one-legged.
I wonder what could have happened to that leg.
Gator.
Maybe.
Baby gator. Wow. It's pretty intense. Yeah, man.
Things loaded with
You're a bad one.
Man.
Look at the gator.
Where? Wow.
There's a gator right there.
The alligator guard about the size of my chest.
There's an alligator right here. Big old gator.
No, but dude.
What the heck is in there?
I mean, not an alligator guard, an alligator turtle. You ever seen one?
Oh, yeah,
Dude, the necks are like that, right?
yeah. I've
They're
caught him.
huge.
See the gator?
Yeah. This turtle's bigger than him, though. Oh, look at this school bass.
Yeah, I know. There's a lot of them in here.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them right up by the water. You could jump in and grab them. Where's the gator turtle?
Over here. He's massive. He might have went down now. It's show like this.
Yeah, I've caught them, but they were never that big.
He was going this way. Maybe he went down here.
Maybe they'll spill its tilapia, huh?
Dude, those are bass. Dude.
They're bass. No. He's right there,
Bass.
tilapia.
Dude, some of them are bass though, because I saw the side of them and they got the same name. But
I've got one ranger who has this really dramatic, thing. He gets his group and he walks up and he tells them, "Okay, guys, we're now walking onto the slowest murder in history." And that's because of this tree right here. It's called the
Strangler fig.
And so, the wind or a bird will disperse the seed of this tree into a nook or a cranny of any other tree. And it will grow from the top, little by little. Those roots will come down and eventually strangle that host tree to death. So we don't know what the original tree was here, but it's all strangler fig now. So they're really, really
It's the
beautiful.
biggest
They've
one
got
I've ever seen.
these roots that just have this unique pattern. This tree is completely full of lichens, which makes it, I think, really interesting. And occasionally we've got woodpeckers that live in it. It's been here a really long time. So it's a unique tree to this subtropical environment that we live in. There are other places in the world that have them, but I don't think they go too far north from this area. Next to it, we've got a little gumbo limbo tree, just in case we don't make it into the trail. This tree here is the gumbo limbo. So it's got a very flaky bark. It's unique in a lot of ways. They say that the Native Americans used to use this tree for hunting birds because it's got a really sticky sap. So they would cut a slash through it, let that sap run out, and wait for a bird to get stuck in it. I don't know if that's 100% true, but I think it's a pretty viable way of using that tree. It's also been used for other things. It grows very, very fast, and it grows from cuttings. So there's an area in the Keys that you may have been near when you were snorkeling yesterday called the cow pens. Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Back in the day, I should say, they would corral the manatees because they would, go through. And so this tree here, pieces of it were used. They were stuck in the water, and they eventually made a fence. And the manatees would be corralled in that area, and they would be used for food purposes. Understand? It's very nutritious. I don't know. But, so the cow pen. So this tree has a lot of uses, and I think that your professor's going to tell you another couple of things that he wants you to know about it.
Yeah, so guys, you know something, well, the bark is flaky, but underneath the bark, what color is it?
Green.
Green. What do you think makes it green?
Chlorophyll?
I think it's because
Chlorophyll. What does chlorophyll do? It photosynthesizes, absolutely. Normally we think of that as being restricted to the leaves of trees, correct? So, if we have a big hurricane come through, like Hurricane Andrew back in the day, or Wilma, or any other hurricane that we've had come through here, you know what, the leaves of this tree might get completely stripped off, as with other trees. Well, these trees, they grow fast. And they continue to grow fast even after a hurricane because guess what? They don't have any leaves, and but they can use all this chlorophyll, and there's no shade from other trees because their leaves are blown off. So this tree can start photosynthesizing before other trees. And so it's producing all the sugars, it's growing, it starts to leaf out. Also, it tends to have a bit more water, I think, in the bark than some of the others, which keeps it cool because remember, water resists temperature change. So you can physically come up here and put your hand on it, and it feels cooler to the touch, especially on warm days than some of the other trees. I think that's all.
I think so.
Yeah.
I remember you always doing that kind of thing. I think it's really interesting. So the gumbo limbo occurs in tropical and subtropical environments, so unique to this part of the country. One of many. We'll point out some others, but we have an alligator to talk about.
This is my first alligator since I was 10 that I got to see. It's awesome.
I never get tired of seeing alligators. Is this the first time for you guys been seeing any alligators in the
Not yet.
In the wild, yes.
In the wild?
Yeah, in the wild.
They're pretty interesting creatures. Most of the time, this is what we see them doing. But every now and then, we do get to see them being a little bit more active. Everglades is the only place in the world where you have a chance to see an alligator and a crocodile living side by side. That doesn't happen anywhere else. But because we're in a freshwater environment here, we're more likely to see alligators. If we're in a saltwater marsh or out in the bay, we would be more likely to see crocodiles. However, they sometimes will cross paths. Because of our water situation here at the Anhinga Trail with the borrow pit that I mentioned earlier, we have alligators here almost all the time. So visitors have a very good chance of seeing an alligator here every day. However, in the summer months when we have lots of water all over the place, they spread out. So now we have this two-season cycle, wet, dry, wet, dry, wet being the summer, dry being the winter. We're at the very end of it right now, getting ready to transition back into that wet season. Our water levels here are going down, and our wildlife congregates. So you can see all the fish kind of stacked up in the water here. You see the alligators a lot more than we do in the summer months when they can go wherever they want. The birds are hunting actively because the fish are all concentrated. So it's one of the other things that makes this spot here really, really cool to see.
And which ones live in freshwater and the other ones live in saltwater?
Alligators are freshwater, crocodiles are saltwater. So there's a few ways that they look similar. People will get them confused, but yeah. Habitat is the first indication of if you're looking at an alligator or a crocodile. Shape of the snout, see, we can't see this guy, so it's hard to tell, but shape of the snout is a second indicator. Alligator snout is very broad, crocodile snout much more pointed. It's easier to tell if you see them side by side. The other thing is the color. When you were 6 or 7 years old and you're going to color a picture of an alligator, what color crayon would you go for?
Green.
Of course, we all would. But, this alligator doesn't really look very green, right? So they're almost black in color, even though we're all trained to think that they're green. So alligators are not green, they're black. Crocodile's much more green. So very different. Ooh, here we got a soft-shell turtle.
Oh, there he is.
In the springtime, the soft-shell turtles, like we just saw right here, we'll probably see more. They use this bank on the side of our trail to lay their eggs. So we get to see that happen here on the trail. Soft-shell turtles have that very uniquely shaped snout, pointed. It's kind of like that snorkel you guys were using yesterday out on the water. They can stay under the water for a long, long time, just leave the little snout out of the water and then go back down. They're interesting looking, but they're one of the creatures that we have here. So they will build their nest here on the side of the Anhinga Trail, and coincides along with the time that the alligators will build their nest, which is coming up soon.